It is the Sports Fix here on Flow FM, and we've had a look at River Murray football earlier in the show. Let's move to Barossa, Light and Gawler and have a look at what happened over the weekend. Rick Drewer went and watched probably one of the most uninspiring games of football he reckons he's ever seen. Let's get him on the line and find out how it all went. G'day, Rick. How are you?
Look, I'm very well, and I'm so pleased you've invited me back because I'm sure you're going to apologise for sending me to that game.
Well, I must. But look, in all seriousness, it was a pretty dour sort of struggle, this one. But not only that, I think it's the last game that gets played at Kapunda this year. We're talking about the Kapunda-Freeling game, and there wasn't a lot of goals kicked, mate.
Well, no, there wasn't. In fact, I can tell you how many were kicked after half-time, two. one apiece. Half-time, 5-4 to 3-4. Kapunda 2 goals in front, and deservedly in front. But the amazing thing is that they kicked 1 goal in the third quarter, and Freeling kicked 1 goal in the third quarter, and neither of them kicked a goal in the last. So she was pretty exciting stuff.
Look, both of these sides too were coming off monumental wins, particularly Freeling. So I think it was just a case of a bit of a letdown from the week before, Rick, maybe? Or is it, I mean, both have got some work to do, clearly, but I think I've watched a couple of Freeling games this year. Even in losses, they've played at a relatively high level, but clearly this was a game that just didn't reach any great heights.
Well, it didn't. And the amazing thing was that the ground, I mean, to look at the, 10 goals between the two of them in the 4 quarters, none in the last, you'd think that they must have been playing in a mud heap or whatever. And nothing like that was true. The ground was fine. It was just that particularly Freeling seemed anything below their knees, fumbled, mishandled, whatever. And so it just became, and as a consequence, they never got free to use the ball. And so it was just ball up after ball up. I mean, the poor umpires, they must have gone in for an arm massage. Don't worry about the legs.
Well, Kapunda got the job done, and to be fair, important win for them. They don't get to play at home for the rest of the year, but are up to 4 wins now, so they almost tack back on. I mean, it's going to be a tough ask for them to play finals footy, but at least they're in the shooting game still.
Well, that's right. And the important thing is that they've got Aaron Whistler back. He's a very important key for them. And, it's very easy to have a crystal ball. Apart from anything else, they haven't got an easy run. But I wouldn't be surprised if they performed an upset. Don't ask me when. But if anyone's going to cause an upset out of the bottom sides, it could be Kapunda. When they're going well, they're not a bad unit, actually.
Yeah, and Fraser Evans back, firing and fit, makes a big difference, yeah.
He makes a huge difference. I mean, I'm not sure, the big call is, I'm not sure at any level of football I've seen anyone move onto their left leg and have such a magnificent raking left foot kick as he does. And, although he's, centre half back or in defence, he's their key attacking weapon as well. He reads the play so well. And with him back and Whistler back, they're in with a chance, of an upset or two.
Mm. Well, the game I saw last week wasn't much better, to be fair. Nuriupa taking on Anguston, and I was disappointed with Anguston in this one.
Well, I'm actually pleased that you didn't enjoy it because I didn't enjoy mine either.
Well, in the end, it was I don't think Anguston kicked a goal in the first 3 quarters of the match. They had 6 behinds till 3-quarter time, and they kicked 4 in the last quarter, but the game was dead to rights by then. So Nuriupa did this very, very comfortably in the end, Rick. And look, I'm not sure. Nuriupa only had 10 to 3-quarter time, so their goal-kicking power or lack thereof worries me come finals time. They're a good side. I'm just not sure if they can win it.
Well, that's interesting you've said that because you were I went and saw the South Newry game, and it was very, very interesting. Newry were reasonably with them, but they haven't got the firepower up front, and that's what South have that gives them a huge advantage, I think.
Yep, I'd agree with you there, mate. So, look, disappointing all round, I think, for Angaston. And I just don't know what's happened. There was some talk pre-season that Corey Gregson was going to be the prize recruit, I think, for Angaston, but it never eventuated. He's now off and just signed a deal, I believe, with Owen United in Victoria to play the rest of the season out. So we broke here on the flow yesterday. So that's clearly not going to happen. I just don't know where they're going.
Well, I don't either. I mean, having seen basically I've got a feeling that the four's not going to change. I mean, it might move around a bit, but I can't really see any of the ones that are outside the four getting in. But I really worries me, as we've already said, about how many goals Newry can get on the scoreboard. That's why I would put South well and truly ahead as premiership favourites. And Williston are very dependent on a couple of blokes, of kicking goals, whether Wald Hutter gets goals or not. Gee whiz, I think I've written in my column at one stage that whoever beats South will win the premiership, because I can't imagine South not being there.
Yeah. Match of the round last week in the end turned out to be Tanunda Barossa District. We should have seen this coming, because I think they're fighting it out for the same spot in the four, to be honest. And it took till late in the piece, but Tanunda in the end got over the line, 10-11-71 to Barossa District, 8-11-59. And look, there was a couple of reasons as to why Tanunda got over the line, but look, Zane Kirkwood played. I think that's probably the biggest reason of all.
I'd say that was absolutely, you've nailed it on the head, and they are a little bit questionable without him playing, and I must confess that I was a little bit surprised that they only just got over the line with him playing. Again, I reckon they're in the same boat. I'm not sure that they've got too many big guns up forward to kick enough goals often enough to really threaten the top couple. Famous last words. I'll go out and kick 20 this week, I suppose.
Well, no, I think you're right. The one thing about Barossa Districts that surprises me is that they haven't come on more. They've got the big key forward in Shillabeer, who's the man up front who can get the job done, but they're just lacking a little bit of depth in their midfield, I think.
Well, I couldn't agree more. He is a very impressive player, but of course, unless you've got the midfield to get it to him, then even somebody as good as he is going to struggle to kick big bags, and that's what they need. They need a couple of midfielders, and they'd be right in the mix if that was the case.
Oh, we know they got Ryswick, and Traynor is a good player as well, but outside of that, it's hard to see what sort of rotations they run through the midfield that are going to get them enough ball to get to Shillabeer to kick a score against good teams. Yeah,
couldn't agree more. Absolutely, yes.
And I think we'll gloss over this last one, because South Gawler, top of the ladder, they're flying, and they flogged Gawler Central, who I don't rate at all at the moment. The Tigers, I've seen them a few times this year, and their best is pretty good, but their worst is very bad. I think the worst in the comp, to be honest.
Well, they are. They were so dependent upon Charlie Molyneux, and without him, poor old Kyle West and Jamie Wegner and co, they've got the job ahead of them like the bloke with the wheelbarrow, and they just haven't got enough top guns to. They are pretty ordinary.
Yeah. So I think South Gawler have played their arch rival twice this year and are about 220 points to the good. That tells you all you need to know.
Yeah, that is exactly right. Yeah. And I'm really pleased you've sent me to Gawler Central and Williston. That should be a close game as well.
Well, I aim to please. Let's have a look at this week, because Williston did have the bye. So, and that's where you'll be headed, Gawler Central at the Dog Track, taking on Williston. And I said the Gawler Central's best can be very good, and you'll see that in patches, but I think I said this last week too. They refuse to play 4 quarters, and they won't beat Williston if they don't.
Well, you're absolutely right. Now, I've got a little bit of gossip, how accurate it is, so I'll cover us both by saying alleged. I've heard a little bit of disturbing news that during the huge upset when Freeling knocked over Williston, which, gee whiz, that's the shock of the century, I was told, as I said, alleged, that there was a lot of arguing and bickering amongst a number of the Williston players on the field, which was very verbally audible to spectators. Now,
wow.
I don't know whether that's right or wrong, but if it's right, then Jars has got a bit of fixing to do, because that's not a good sign, if it is true, that is. So I'll keep my ears open for you on Saturday.
Oh, I like that. Breaking news. I like it. We'll see how they go this week. But to be honest, I won't say I'm surprised to hear that. If you're playing a team that hasn't won in 1,000 days and you're not upset with how things are going on the field, then you probably shouldn't be out there.
Well, look, I don't disagree with that at all. But the source of my information was that it was pretty heated amongst a few of them and quite constant. So, anyone can get beaten, even bottom and top, on a bad day. And I guess the test is, now that they've had the week off, see how they bounce back. And as you've said, although Gawler Central are very average, they do play reasonable football for a little bit. And so it'll be interesting to see Williston's reaction to what's happened prior to their bye.
Agreed. Let's take a look at Freeling South Gawler. Now, you're not going to this one. I think I'm going to this one, and they will need a bit of a miracle, Freeling, to be competitive in this one against a South Gawler team which is flying. But I watched the last game between these two sides at South Gawler Oval, and Freeling's big, tall forwards did cause South a few concerns in that game.
Well, yes, and despite last week, we've got it. I don't know how it happened, but the Freeling beat Williston the week before. Yeah. So I guess the fact that they're turning up will give them a chance. But gee whiz, it would. I can't believe after what I saw last week that it could happen. But stranger things. It's only a 2-horse race.
That's true, mate. That's true. Other games, Newry will take on Kapunda. Here's a chance for Kapunda to get an upset win over a team above them, but every time I go to put a line through Newry, they win. So I'm going to have to tip the Rovers here.
Oh, yes, I will tip them, but as I said earlier, if they're going to cause an upset, it could be the week, but I'd say Newry.
Yeah. And Barossa District are at home. Williamstown, Angaston will come down the highway. Long trip for them. They'll turn around at the end of the day and disappear after leaving the 2 points with the Bulldogs, who will absolutely win this game.
I honestly, as Meatloaf would say, you've taken the words right out of my mouth.
It's hard to find a way home for Angaston. If you're getting a copy of the Gawler Bunyip this week, and you should, around Barossa Light Gawler, you'll be able to see Rick's column in there, not just for the Barossa Light and Gawler football, but also having a look at, an interesting topic this week in Shorty's Short Spots. What did you cover this week, Rick? I enjoyed the read.
Well, I was talking about the decision of FINA and coming down on the transgender situation, and it was about, and I just expressed the personal opinion that it was about time that a large, world-recognised sporting organisation had the courage to actually make the decision they have. And I'm sure that I don't need to bore our listeners with the debate, but the fact is that if you go through male puberty, it wouldn't matter what happens to you, what surgery, what medications, you have got the advantages of male physiology. And to me, that's the end of the story. And what happens at a lower level, social sport, that's fine. You can choose to do it. But at the elite level, then you've got to have fairness. It's all very well to talk about inclusiveness, but unless inclusiveness and fairness are compatible, then you can't have it. And the fact is that in terms of this transgender situation, then they are incompatible. At least in my opinion, they are anyway, and obviously Fina's as well.
Yeah, have a read of that in the Gawler Bunyip this week. And Rick, great chatting with you, mate, as always, and we'll do it again next week. Enjoy the footy this weekend, Gawler Central and Williston.
Thanks, pal, and I hope you enjoy yours as well. See ya.